à vous tous. Latulu, c'est toi la star, c'est parti. Bienvenue à tous. C'est la valorisation de la culture africaine. Latulu, c'est toi la star. Voilà, il faut aller dans une continuité historique pour pérenniser la culture africaine. Souvent, je le dis, demain sera africain. Oui, moi je suis là pour mettre en avant tout ça, tous les artistes. L'émission Latulu, c'est toi la star. C'est plus qu'une émission culturelle, c'est un vrai soutien aux artistes.
Hello everyone, I'm Dorothy Mefo, producer and presenter of Latulu, You Are the Star. Today, as part of edition 22, I am welcoming a great specialist in the cinematographic field, a director of international photography, experienced in all image capture formats. He has been awarded at numerous international film festivals and other ceremonies for 30 years. A former student of the American Film Institute located in Los Angeles. He began his exceptional career in the world of music videos, where he shot more than 70 clips between 1989 and 1992. He has also collaborated on many feature films from studios, independent films, TV films, documentaries, and commercials. So to speak, he is a recognized international star from the cinematographic world, who will now answer my questions in connection with Nigeria. Hello John Demps, how are you doing? It's an honor for me to welcome you to the set of Latulu, You Are the Star.
It's an honor for me to be on your show, The Star. But I think you are the one who's the star. In my book anyway. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for having me again. It's really an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. And I look forward to answering any and all of your questions. Thank you.
Having started your career in the world of music, but what circumstances did you enter into the world of video clips?
My circumstances for entering the music video world was due to a natural process that happens when you're coming up as a cinematographer. After I finished film school at the American Film Institute, I was like 23, and you know, at that age it's difficult to get a job as a cinematographer because of your age. So I worked as a lighting technician on many film sets, and then from there I moved up to assistant chief lighting technician, and then I moved up to chief lighting technician, which is also referred to as a gaffer. So I began to work for one particular production company which did a lot of rap videos, and at this time I was mainly their gaffer, the chief lighting technician. So I gaffed many rap videos. This was in the early 90s. And I got the opportunity through one of the DOPs. One day he suggested to the company, hey, why don't you let John shoot the next video? So they thought it was a good idea, and they gave me the opportunity, and I shot my first video, and from there the ball just began to roll. And music videos are a way for an up-and-coming cinematographer to, you know, basically cut his teeth, to experiment and to make all of your mistakes, and, you know, to see what you can do, to be, you know, to explore, to, you know, just be creative, because it's music video. So the world is open to your creativity in that realm. So during this time, I shot many rap videos. I was fortunate because at this time, in the late 80s, early 90s, is when rap was at its peak, you know, and there was a station called The Box where viewers could call in and order their favorite music video by their favorite artists, and it led to an opportunity to shoot many music videos because the record companies knew their artists' music video would be seen. So I shot music videos for many rap artists, like I shot Tupac's I Ain't Mad at You. I shot Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, which was Snoop Dogg's very first video, called Deep Cover, which was the title track for a movie called Deep Cover. And I shot a video for Queen Latifah and many other rap artists who were big during that time. So this began my life in music videos, and it was a good experience. And I had many chances to meet, you know, some famous artists.
The decisive trigger that made you switch to the cinema?
So there really wasn't a decisive trigger. It's just something that naturally happened. I was approached one day about shooting a mockumentary, which was a fake documentary about a rap group. And the movie was called Fear of a Black Hat. The movie was called Fear of a Black Hat, and it was about a rap group called NWH. And it was a fake documentary based on a group which was similar to the rap group NWA. Okay, so this fake documentary kind of like opened the door to my first independent film, and it was a funny project because most of the guys in the documentary are comedians, and the director is a writer for Dave Chappelle, so you can imagine the humor. So this was my actually first independent film for a studio.
Director of photography on many films that have led you to receive several awards at major international film festivals. Why has photography been especially at the heart and center of your activities? Is there an unconditional love for photography in there?
I think photography was subconsciously buried in the back of my mind as a kid. The reason I say that is because when I was small, there were cameras always around our house. My father had a friend who was a still photographer in the military. And this man was always bringing us photos, taking pictures of the family, and bringing these small cameras, giving them to my father. But the funny thing is that I actually don't remember ever seeing my father pick up a camera. Maybe he did it during the time my eldest sister was young, but my mom was actually the snapshot queen in the house. She was always taking pictures of any visitors who came, any of our friends. She just loved taking snapshots. So I think being exposed to many photos as a kid, and just seeing how photographs were a part of our life, had an influence on me subconsciously. Because when you're a kid, I was heavily into playing sports. My dream was to play American football professionally. That was my dream. So I was actively always in the gym, working out, trying to get big so I can get ready for the NFL in America. So one day, one day in high school, my student counselor talked to me about my career. She wanted to know what I wanted to do for a career. So I said, I want to play in the NFL. I want to be a professional football player. And she said, well, that's fine and well, but you must have a backup plan, because this job doesn't last forever. And what would you do if you don't make it into the NFL? So then I thought, and this photography thing popped in my mind. I said, well, maybe I could pursue a career as a cameraman or a photographer. So she said, okay, that's good. So she set me up in a program in my high school, Jones High School Media Center, and I began to work during certain periods, videotaping and setting up projectors for certain classes. And then later on I became the yearbook staff photographer for my senior class. So it was quite a new deal for me. Now, meantime, I was still playing sports also. I was still playing football in high school. So this whole new world photography opened up to me, and I enjoyed it. I knew that it was something that I would like to pursue. And from there, it just kind of, slowly trickled into my life.
You have a long course of film productions of all kinds from 1991 to 2014, not only on the African continent, but also in the United States. How did you experience opposite working conditions, and what about level of professional adaptation?
Professionalism amongst the crew members between Africa and America, I find no difference. The only thing I found different is in terms of the accessibility of like the latest up-to-date equipment. As cinematographers, you always have these toys that you want to have, and these nice little new gadgets that are available that makes your job easy. But some things don't exist. For example, I've yet to work with a real dolly in West Africa. Between Nigeria and Senegal, I haven't worked with a real dolly. This dolly allows you to make movements not only laterally but also vertically by hydraulics. This I haven't worked with yet, and I'm going to beg some of my friends in Hollywood to see if they can set up a lease program so that we can have one, at least two in Nigeria, because I know if they're there, they will work, you know. We're still using platform dollies in both countries where I work. South Africa has everything that we have in Los Angeles, but in Senegal, Nigeria, and I'm sure in other West African countries, we don't have this machine. So besides that, there's some other things that are just coming out that we don't have. But in terms of the professionalism amongst the crew members, I find no difference. These guys that I work with in Nigeria, I've been working with now for 10 years or more. And we're all like one big happy family. So, and these guys, I know I can take them anywhere in the world and they will do a great job. So I really feel, I don't really see a difference between the two.
During your career, you rubbed shoulders with famous American directors such as Martin Scorsese, Jordan Walker Pearlman, Charles Burnett, in particular on the magnificent film Namibia, The Struggle for Liberation. By what chance did you meet them, and how were your professional relationships?
Now this is interesting. My connection with the people mentioned, Martin Scorsese, Jordan Walker Perlman, and Charles Burnett, they all came through my agent. Those connections actually came through my agent in Los Angeles. I worked with Charles Burnett for the first time in 1999, and we shot a feature film called The Annihilation of Fish, which stars James Earl Jones and Linda Redgrave. That was our first time working together, and from that point until now, we still work together when projects come up. We worked together on this project, which was executive produced by Martin Scorsese, which was a documentary on the history of the blues. And it was, I think, a 9-episode series, and each episode had a different director. So Charles was one of the directors, and that's how we worked for Martin Scorsese. Jordan Walker Perlman, also, this connection came through my agent in Los Angeles. We did a couple of films together, and the last film we did was a film called Constellation, which has many stars in it that you see nowadays on television. Stars like Gabrielle Union, Zoe Saldana, Billy D. Williams, Hill Harper. Many stars were in this film, and it was a pleasure working with such a great people. Zoe is now a really big star. She's a big time. So that's how I met those directors. And Charles and I went on in 2005 to shoot, I would say, my biggest project to date in terms of scale of production. We shot a film called Namibia, The Struggle for Liberation. And this film was about how Namibia fought and gained their independence from South Africa. This film covered a span of about 50 years, and we spent almost like maybe 4 months shooting in Namibia back in 2005. The film was funded by the government, and the story was told through the eyes of Sam Nujoma, who was the founding president of Namibia. So this film was quite an adventure. It was, in terms of production, It was an adventure, and then just in terms of life experiences, it was another adventure because I saw things I'd never seen before in my life. You know, just experiencing, meeting like the Obahimba people. I went to their village, and it was like amazing because, you know, these people still live the same way they've lived for thousands of years, you know. We filmed in Dune 7, one of the famous deserts of Namibia, and it was just really amazing. So all this time I spent with Charles, and Charles and I had a couple of encounters with elephants that that were unforgettable. So it was, you know, it was a real pleasure working on that. In 2007, we were in post-production on the film we shot in Namibia, and I was doing the color grading, and I spent like a month in Johannesburg. So while I was in Johannesburg, we were visited by a couple of producers, and they were producing the story about Nelson Mandela's long walk to freedom. So they saw my work, and they needed to do a green screen shot for the film. Now at this time, 2007, the film, they had not shot one footage of the story yet. But they needed to do this green screen shot at this moment. And I'll explain to you later why. So they asked me if I would be interested in making this shot for them. So I said, yeah, sure, why not? So then it was later that they told me that this would be a shot, a green screen shot of Nelson Mandela. The shot would be used at the end of the movie, which still had yet to be filmed. And they needed to do this shot with Madiba while he was still healthy and was still looking fresh and strong, because they knew that, everyone knew that his health was getting worse and worse as the years, go on. So they wanted to make this shot with him with green screen during this time while he was still strong and healthy. So we did this shot at his foundation, and it was like an honor. It was like, an unforgettable experience of a lifetime. And so they they told the whole crew. So anyway, we went there. We did the pre-light the day before. We used the garage of his foundation to set up the green screen set, and we filmed him the next day. So they told us, I said, please, when Madiba comes in, please just greet him briefly, and don't take up too much time. And they said, John, especially you, because if he knows that you are from America, he will want to talk to you for the rest of the day. So Madiba came in, I introduced myself, shook hands, and we made the shoot. So when you watch this movie, Long Walk to Freedom, the final shot in the film is when you see a double walking up this mountainside, and you see kids following him, and it's an aerial shot. When this shot transitions into a close-up, you see the back of Madiba, and then he'll turn to camera and look at camera. So this is the shot that I performed in 2007 with him, which was a green screen shot that they used as the final shot of the movie. This I'll always be, this will always be a landmark in my career, So anyway, I wanted to let you know that experience.
I know that you often go to Nigeria, to Lagos, to make commercials and television shows. how do Nigerian works from a technical point of view? Do they have technical working specifications?
From a technical point of view, from working in Nigeria and even in Senegal, I can say this for the both countries. You have technicians, well experienced technicians in both places. Of course, you have more in Nigeria because the industry is a lot bigger in Lagos. The one thing I found that although it's starting to change now, is equipment and the access and availability of the latest cameras and lighting equipment, although that is starting to change even as we speak. Over the years, I've really seen the industry change in terms of the whole technical area. I have one colleague at Jungle Films who I've known now for 10 or more years, and he has been the leader in, gaining the edge on getting the latest gear into his shop. Most of the technicians I work with are from his company, and we've all been working together, like I said before, for many years. Camera gear is starting to change. I mean, now they're all the cameras we have available in Los Angeles, they're now here in Lagos. From Arriflex to Red to you name it. So in terms of the technical equipment side of things, it's not a big of a problem now as it was, like, let's say 5 years ago.
Months ago, you went to Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso at the Imagine Institute, whose founder is the great filmmaker Gaston Caboret. How was your stay in his institute, and do you believe from what you saw on the spot that African cinema has today the real technical means of making high quality cinema?
My experience in Imagine Institute was fantastic. Mr. Gaston Cabaret is truly a pioneer, and I consider him my brother. My stay there was amazing. My students were amazing. The equipment really surprised me because, I told the students how lucky they were because they have such great equipment to work with, like top of the line, from lighting to camera. It's like they're really lucky, blessed and lucky to have this material available to them. Mr. Cabaret, Toussaint, everybody, all the guys, even down to the drivers, everyone was so great to me, and the stay was comfortable, and I really enjoyed my time. It was my first time to Burkina Faso, and I ate a lot of chicken, which was great. So the one thing I just would have liked to have more time to explore the city a bit more. But next time around, it'll happen. The equipment that is available at Imagine Institute is the best. It's top of the line equipment. It's equipment that you can use to make any type of project you can imagine, from a feature film to a documentary. It's all there, and it's the best. I mean, like I said before, I was really impressed. So there's really no reason not to make a high quality film in Africa nowadays, because we are getting the gear, we're getting the proper knowledge, we're gaining the proper knowledge. We are, we already have the best stories, so it's, we are the original storytellers. So now let's put those stories in the cinemas for all the world to see. So it's the best equipment that I've seen in a school in Africa so far, in West Africa, I should say, that will allow you to do anything that you want to do.
Produced a documentary film in 2013 on a collective of Senegalese women artists. How did this experience go?
So this project, this documentary project on a group of Senegalese, female Senegalese artists that I did was, this is something that I produced, directed, and shot actually. This project kind of like fell into my lap. I knew the owners of Musée Boribana, who were from, the wife was from the US, CCH Pounder, Couronné, and her husband, Boubacar Couronné. They built the museum back in 1995, I think, if I remember correctly. And at this moment, in 2012, I was staying at the museum because they have these bungalows on the property for visiting artists. So I was staying at the museum, and one day they had an exhibition which consisted of all female artists. And so as I'm visiting the exhibit, I'm saying, oh, it would be a great idea to make a documentary film. I said to myself, it would be a great idea to make a documentary film about this group of women. So I proposed the idea to them, and they agreed. And so over the next almost the next 6 or 7 months actually, I conducted interviews with them, and ended up putting together this documentary film, which I'm very proud of. You know, it was something I just did on my own at the spur of the moment, and it's something that I think will stay with me for a long time, because it's an original. It's an original. So this project, I think, will probably have a second part, a part 2, because now it's been like 7 years, and I would like to do a follow-up to see what these women are up to nowadays.
You have directed and produced several films in Africa. Nevertheless, you have worked on several African series, one of which particularly dealt with the prevention of pregnancy in young teenagers. Have you always been, easy or not, both in terms of series and feature films?
So the first television series I shot in Africa, actually in Nigeria, is MTV's Sugar Niger. And the plot of the story is based on teenage pregnancy and prevention of teenage pregnancy, and all the things teenagers go through during their time of high school, the peer pressures and all the things they go through, and the boys chasing the girls, and the different situations that they encounter. But they also, the thing that I really liked about it is that we presented these situations, but they also had a helpline. So if anyone was going through these different situations that we portrayed, they could call a 1-800 number and get help in assisting them to make it through this problem that they may be having. So we presented the problem, and we presented a solution to the problem for the viewers, which is something I thought was very unique and something you don't see often in television series. So this was the first TV series I worked on in Africa.
Just won last March in Lagos in Nigeria the prize of the best cinematographer of the year concerning the Nigerian dramatic film Living in Bondage, released in 2019, produced by Charles Okpaliki and directed by Ramsey Noah, on which you work in terms of photography. John, is this last film finally crowning your exceptional career of more than 28 years? And how did you welcome your prize for the best cinematographer of the year 2020 in Lagos? We're going to take the opportunity to see an extract from the trailer for Living in the Bondage, and we'll talk about it right after.
You know, you remind me so much of my younger self.
I do?
Growing up, we always wanted more. You felt you're never really where you're meant to be.
Come on, we go.
Look at this life. Do you want this life? And I can give it to you. Everything.
I'm making you this right now. 150 million, I swear to God. One to Babylon. Let go sit down, no. Let go sit down when I'm there over there.
Like I said, and blast off, let's do that stuff. Moving like I'm cool in the game. When the mainframe, when I'm doing my thing.
Power. Everything. It's not free, my boy.
Man, you stood pat, waiting on another cat. Ended up deflated like a
Look at it, star boy on side.
Mr. Richard. Yeah.
Amazing party you have
Ain't no need to listen.
What do you know about Richard Williams?
The Six.
This cult group, the Brotherhood of the Six, have been involved in countless murders.
What do you have to do with all these killings, Mr. Zion?
Why is he after you and your son? If we go down, you go down.
You are in grave danger. And the minute they start to inch close, I snap their necks. When you take, you give is the order of things. This is no fucking game. Clock is ticking. Tick, tock. Tick, tock.
What have you done? Nothing!
Leave me alone!
Are you ready to get your key?
What key, sir?
Key to the good life.
So yeah, this award I won for Living in Bondage, Best Cinematographer, was an award that really marked a great point in my career. First of all, it's my first award in Africa. And secondly, I did it with a great team where I think this night we won like 7 awards. And you know, it's not often where you work on a project where so many other departments have done such a fantastic job, and you've all come together as a team, and you've just produced something that people love. And second of all, it was a project Steve Gukas brought me into, and Steve is actually the man who introduced me to Nigeria. Now, Steve and I worked together in 2005 on the project I filmed in Namibia. Steve was one of the producers there. So it was a couple of years later that Steve brought me to Nigeria for the first time to shoot his movie, A Place in the Stars. So that was my first film. I think we started shooting in 2008. And Steve was the producer and director of this movie. So now to come full circle and to have worked on a project with Steve where we've won so many great awards is another, milestone in my career, because this is the man who introduced me to Nigeria. So winning this award was like something that I hope marks the beginning of many more awards to come. And now I have this goal in mind where I want to shoot a film that was produced and directed in Africa, but will be recognized at the Oscars. That's my next goal. I want to shoot a film in Africa, whether it's Nigeria or Senegal, but I want this film to reach Hollywood and to be nominated. That's my next goal, inshallah. I want to thank you for having me here. It's such an honor because, like I said, it's not me who's the star, it's you who's the star, Dorothy. I look forward to coming back to Burkina Faso. I hope to do many more workshops there. I hope to share my knowledge all around Africa as much as is possible. I worked in Hollywood for so many years, and I want to bring all of that experience and knowledge to the up-and-coming filmmakers in Africa as much as I can. So thank you once again. It's a pleasure being here, and much more success to you and your show, and I'll do whatever I can to help you in any way. Thank you very much. You are the star, Dorothy. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, John, for answering my question. It was a great pleasure and exclusivity to have you here as a guest star at Edition 22. A big thank you. Thank you very much. I remind you, the subscribers, that you can follow the news and of our guest on his Facebook page, www.facebook.com, John and Jagged Demps. We expressly invite you to watch the film Living in Bondage, an excellent feature film that Netflix broadcast elsewhere. Follow us on our Facebook page at Latulu and on Latulu Replay to review all our shows. I kiss you, my followers, and I tell you on the next show on your favorite channel. It will be the edition 23. I kiss you and bye bye. See you. It was Dirty Miko for Latulu. You are the star.
C'est toi la star. De Soweto jusqu'à Dakar. Viens prendre place dans mon salon. Que je te pose quelques questions. L'as-tu vu? Hey, c'est toi la star. Hey, l'étoile qui brillera tôt ou tard. L'as-tu vu? Sois pas en retard. Monte dans le train, sinon ton rendez-vous avec les stars.